Alrighty. As far as injuries today, Rob Havenstein and Christian Roseboom will be limited. Kevin Dotson will be out, and so will go Kobe Durant.
What's that Kevin Dotson's?
He's got a foot.
Do you think he'll practice escalate a little bit?
Well, we'll see how the week progresses. That's the hope and expectation. So, if we are a little careful with him, but we do expect him to make it to the game.
Obviously, there's a lot of pride with the preparation that you do out here. But when you go back and you look at the second half of the film from Sunday night, you gain confidence knowing that, these guys were all out when you made the comeback.
Yeah, no, I was proud of the group, like I mentioned after the game. I thought they did a great job of, especially when it goes to 17-3, to go on a 17-point run. Thought there was complimentary football on display. Ultimately, we didn't finish, and there were some opportunities to be able to do that, but I was really proud of the resilience, the mental toughness, all the things that we talked about, and I think the film illustrated that as well.
See the way that Tyler Johnson stepped up on Sunday with Coach Arbor. What makes his ability to get guys ready in a situation like that as far as stepping up?
I think it's the clarity that he provides. Coach Arbor, we've been together. This is our 8th year. He's an excellent coach. He's connected with his guys. They know how much he cares about them first and foremost as a person. And then I think Nate Shieldhouse and Rod Calabrese do a great job. And so TJ ultimately delivered. I thought the shallow cross that he converts to a 60-plus yard gain was big, but he made a handful of other plays, did some good things without the ball. But it's always about making sure that you're ready for those opportunities if some unforeseen circumstances arise. I thought TJ did a great job of being able to maximize the time that Puka was out to be able to get better and to get a lot more reps than he would have gotten otherwise, and I thought it showed the way he played.
What is that connection between you and Cooper and Story right now, but in terms of keeping connections to your passing game, how key is it then to have a couple of veteran players this time around, DeMarcus, Tyler, who have reported,
I think it's really important. And so, the game the other day was such an outlier for how we had to play, how we had to adjust. I've never been a part of circumstances quite like that. But I've also probably, that's as proud as I've been of a group's ability to be able to adjust. And you say, all right, hey, everything we were going to do, rip it up and adjust. And the guys seamlessly handled that. And I think it's a credit to our players to give ourselves a chance, down 14 points, and they had a lot of momentum at that point, and to be able to, take the lead with 4.5 minutes to go. Now, there's no moral victories, but I don't think it's an all or nothing thing either. Like, you can't gain anything from games unless you get the result you're hunting up. That to me is not something that I believe in either. Do we want to go win and get the results? Of course, but to go back to your original question about the dimensions, it's really important. And we want to be able to have, all 5 eligibles get involved. We want to be able to do what we think is best to be able to move the football and score points. And so how that's reflected and illustrated this week, we shall see, and I sure hope we stay healthier.
What is that wide receiver group gain by having Cooper?
I think just an example. I think in a lot of instances, Sarah, being able to see what it looks like is more powerful than any words you can say. I always think the best teachers go off of the film. You guys have heard me talk about whether it's Cooper, Aaron, the best leaders, they model the way. They pick and choose their spots to be able to say things, but I see better than I hear, and I think that's a great way of articulating what Cooper means to those guys because of the way that he moves and goes about his business, and really his weekly and daily and hourly rhythm is focused on consistently improving and enjoying the opportunities that this presents.
Sean, on Monday you talked about having a mindset to get yourself where you need to be in preparation for Arizona. You've also said don't let a team beat you twice.
Yep.
Can you talk about that process between Monday and where you're standing today?
I think that's what's so great about the NFL is whether we had gotten the result or whether we came up short like we did, it's about how you move forward. How are we where our feet are planted? And all these things are so easy to say, but it takes great discipline, great mental stamina to be able to do it and to recommit and to be able to say, let's pour everything that we have into this. Let's understand it's about the progress, continuing to focus on those things that we can control, not what we can't control. And I've really liked, up to this point, these guys come back in the building. We get back really late from Detroit, but they got a great look in their eye, and I think they're excited about, preparing the right way to ultimately put ourselves in a position to perform as well as we can. Yeah, so I do know. Dylan was a guy that we had a lot of respect for coming out of college. Had some traits and characteristics. Heard some really good things. He's obviously been under great tutelage with Jeff Stoutland in Philadelphia, and so that was one. Ty and Secchi were very familiar with, and so he was a guy. I thought he played really well in 22. He's timeless. He's kind of still doing his thing, and it's great to be able to see him. I was actually with him in Washington when I was the OC, so he's been he's been lasting for a while, right? And then Jaron Christian is a guy that's played a lot of football, started a handful of games for Cleveland last year, and so those were the guys that we felt like were the best available based on the parameters at which we could acquire players, and so that was how we landed on those three.
You've had success against the Cardinals the last couple of years by stopping Kyler Murray, keeping him contained. In the film against Buffalo, you got loose a couple times.
Yeah.
They almost pulled off that win. Is that where it starts again on Sunday?
Oh, he's a nightmare to prepare for, and he's so dangerous because he can beat you in the pocket, and then obviously if you lose a rush lane, he's so explosive. I mean, you mentioned it. I mean, he made a handful of plays off schedule, but that's been consistent throughout the course of his career. And so being able to do things to try to make him uncomfortable, easier said than done, but that's always going to be a key because he's the focal point of their offense. They've obviously got some great playmakers, and I think Drew does a great job of being able to mix it up personnel-wise and keeping you off balance. But if you allow him to be able to find openings, he can certainly make you pay by extending plays, keeping his eyes down the field, or like you alluded to against Buffalo, with his legs creating explosives and then still being able to get out of bounds and not even take a hit.
Coach, I can imagine going into a game and having to rip up the game plan because of injuries. How much pressure is there on you to find resolutions or answers in real time?
Well, that's your job, and I think that's what we're tasked to do. We didn't just sign up for, all right, hey, if everybody stays healthy, this is what you do. I thought just what we ask of our players, we need to be able to do as coaches: flexibility, agility, some fluidity within the framework of the game. And I was proud of our coaches. Certainly, there's still always things that when I look at myself critically from a decision-making standpoint, there's always things you go back. How do you want to sequence things? What are the parameters around which you had to make some of those decisions? How are you communicating, to be able to connect with your coaches and your players so they understand what the intent is? So I don't know if you look at it as pressure. I think you look at it as, hey, that was the circumstance that we were dealt, and you're just kind of in the moment trying to make sure that you handle things accordingly. And then afterwards, you're saying, man, that was pretty wild, but I was really proud of the way that we, competed and showed some resilience and grit.
How do you build that contingency into your practice plan moving forward?
You really don't have time to. I mean, part of that is foundationally built based on what you do in OTAs and in training camp. But if you told me, all right, hey, basically all the stuff that you had planned for, throw it out the window, there's just not enough reps throughout the course. But you do try to establish foundational understanding of, all right, here's some of the different things that we can do based on these parameters that we're dealt, and whatever it is from a personnel or just matchup wise. And so that's what we did. Now, it doesn't mean there wasn't a couple things, but there was a lot of things that we were planning on doing that were definitely out the door because of that situation.
Does it feel like?
What's that?
Does it feel like?
I don't remember that year.
John, you're on the Contingency committee, correct?
Yes.
So, I'm not trying to look backwards, but because they've changed the overtime rule in the playoffs, would you be in favor, even if you won that game?
Yeah, certainly. Here's what I would say. We were beneficiaries of it against Indianapolis last year in Week 4, where we took the ball and went down the field. Back and forth game like that, of course, you would love an opportunity. Now, there are reasons behind it relative to, okay, 17 games, you're extending the season, it's going to be 18 at some point, lengthening the time of games, and that shortens it. But as a competitor, if you're asking me, would we have liked an opportunity to be able to get a chance to try to go match based on losing a coin toss? The answer is yes. And I think all coaches would feel that way. But I know there are some bigger picture things. But yeah, that was something that you would like for sure. I thought they did really well. I thought overall I was really pleased with our defense's pursuit to the football, the way that we took on blocks, with the exception of a couple plays, and give Montgomery a bunch of credit at the end, where they were breaking some tackles. I thought when you flip the film on, you say, what does that unit look like? And I thought, Jared and Braden were extensions of the other 9 guys around them when they were out there. I thought Jared made his presence felt on the very first play of the game. Obviously, it was a big sack that he had at the end of the half to prevent them from getting a chance to get any points. And then I thought Braden did some really good things. I mean, he's going to be relentless with his effort, with his energy. And I think there'll be some things that he can take that he can apply moving forward just based on some situations that he was placed in against an excellent opponent with some different personnel groupings that he'll only improve because of the way he's wired. So overall, Adam, I was pleased with those guys.
Last one, guys. Guys are on IR.
Yep. Yeah, that's the fortunate thing for us, Gary. Each of those three guys that you're talking about, those three guys, they each have unique injuries that, as of right now, it could keep them out longer than that. And so we'll see. What I think we want to be careful to do, and I've kind of learned this just through experience, let's not place expectations on when they're going to come back because these guys are so conscientious. Let's allow them to be ready to go whenever their body says and when the doctors do say. And I know they're going to accelerate it and be ready as quickly as possible. I can't even think about anything other than having a good practice today, but we'll be great. We'll be better when we get those guys back. When that time is, I don't know, but to your point about the bye, it does give us a little bit of luxury of another week in between instead of having to miss a game because of where it falls. Okay? All right. Thanks, guys. Don't you bring up 22 anymore.
Matthew, how would you describe Coach Yards?
Oh man, great positive energy, uplifting, great guy to be around. Yarbs is, I've been lucky enough to be around him, since I got here, and his reputation across the league is so positive and rightfully so. He's done it for a long time. He's coached some great players, has his own unique style in doing it, but man, he loves his players and pushes them, and as you can see, gets a lot out of them.
Obviously, the guys in that room are conscientious on their own, but what stands out about just Yard's ability to have those guys ready, for example, like a Tyler Johnson, someone who's wrestling role?
Yeah, it's just it's a testament to him. It's a testament to that room. He coaches everybody, right? He doesn't coach just the guys that are playing in the game. He doesn't coach, just the starters or whatever it is. Man, he's coaching everybody in that room. He coaches them hard, and those guys, respond because they know he comes from a great place where he loves those guys and wants them, wants the best for them. So it's a great atmosphere in that room, and does a great job leading it.
How does
Of course,
the
no.
wide receiver benefit from having him?
Hugely. Obviously his talent on the field is fantastic, but I think in that room, he probably answers a lot of questions through my lens sometimes. Hey, what is Matthew thinking here? Because we spend a lot of time together. He sees the game that way a lot of times, and then also just sets a standard of not only what it looks like on Sunday, but Wednesday through Friday in practice, and even preparing for Wednesday and Monday and Tuesday. So, just a great leader overall, and a great football player on the field.
I know there's no moral victories, but now that you had a couple days to digest the Sunday night game, what's your overall feeling with the way you guys battled, the other night?
Yeah, I think I was proud of the way that we, responded to some of the, circumstances that happened in the game with guys going down and guys having to step up and play. I thought that it obviously was not mistake-free football. There were opportunities to win that game. We had chances, but I was proud of the effort. We get to see some of the defensive tape and just watch those guys fly around. That was an incredible effort that they put up against a really good offense in Detroit. Really, all three phases had their moments where they played well and battled, and it was an overtime football game. We were right there. We had our chances, didn't get it done, but I'm proud of the effort and the experience those guys got to get in there and play.
I understand next man up mentality, not just as a quarterback, as a captain. What's the loss of the play?
Yeah, obviously a really good football player for us, right? He's makes plays in the passing game. He blocks in the run game as good as anybody. Does a lot of things. It allows us to be really multiple in what we want to do with, just a couple personnel. So, you lose him on the field there, and then you lose his personality in the huddle and the juice that he brings out to practice, the zest for football and life that he has. He's still around. Obviously, it's not like we put him down or anything, but you just don't get to see him in the huddle as much, which we all love being around Puka, so it's a little bit of a loss there.
What's it like Sunday night? There's so many pieces.
Yep.
What's the process
Yeah, just trying to make sure that I'm up to date on who's up and who's down. There were a couple question marks there. Okay, Joe battled for a little bit. Okay, now Joe's down. Same with Steve, trying to come back in maybe after half and just trying to figure out A, who am I taking snaps with, and then B, what's it going to look like in front, and how can I try to turn protections to maybe help people or not or whatever it is. Do the best that I can to try to let us operate at a high level and not miss much of a beat. And got to give Sean a ton of credit for doing the same thing, being able to adjust on the fly, and really all of our guys that stepped in there and moved around and made plays. So, it's not the ideal situation, but I was really proud of the way those guys stepped in and played.
What's it like having everyone like Tyler Johnson step up and take on a bigger role with the tackles?
Yeah, it's great. He's been around here for a little bit. He's made some plays. On the practice field, did a great job making plays. The other night on Sunday. So, got a lot of trust in him. Another guy that I can have really good dialogue with. Right, I'm asking him questions. What did it look like on the backside there? What happened here, there, the other? And he's got really good information. He's a physical player, like Puka, like Cooper. Not afraid to stick his nose in there and block. So he's definitely a guy that we value and has done a nice job for us. I think he's been great. He's really fun energy, good guy to be around. Loves to play ball, loves to come out here and throw it around. So he's been a really positive addition to our team. Excited to have him. He's back in with meetings this week, so it's good to see his face again, see him around. I'm sure he's excited to be back in here, getting some work in. It's been a really positive experience.
You never really know.
It just felt like 2022 with all of the injuries. So
Feel that way to you?
No, I try to treat every single year as its own, right? I mean, we're going to have bumps along the way. That's going to be the case. This is NFL football. There's injuries that happen. Got to continue to try and come together as a team, mold, and like we said, next man up at this point. Who's ever available to play, ready to go, get those guys as ready as we possibly can, go out there, rock and roll, and I like our chances to just go out there and play well.
You never really know a team's mettle until it's tested. You don't know how a team is going to perform until the first game. What did you learn about your teammates in that first game?
Yeah, I think just a mentally tough team, mentally and physically. We had guys trying to battle through things, like I said earlier, physically, and mentally, guys having to move positions, right? Jonah having to move around, new offensive linemen having to come into the game, receivers having to come into the game, and probably didn't get a whole lot of reps or any at practice throughout the week. And all of a sudden you're in there on Sunday Night Football, playing against the Lions. So was really proud of the mental strength that it takes to not blink, not miss a beat, come out there in the second half and play, high caliber football. And that's really both sides of the ball, right? We were able to put some drives together and score some points, but if our defense wasn't getting stops and John Johnson's not making that pick, the game might look different. So it took all phases of our team, and was proud to see that those guys, didn't blink in quite a bit of adversity on a tough environment on the road, and it's going to serve us well throughout the season.
Sean had said because the way the game unfolded, he hadn't seen a game where take what you game plan for and kind of rip it up.
Yeah.
As a veteran looking back, how strange was that for you?
Well, I think that's kind of how we roll during training camp, right? We don't sit there and game plan the teams we're practicing against or game plan our defense very often. We just kind of go out there and play. And so I think I have a lot of experience in this offense. Cooper does. We were able to kind of piece some things together and put guys in spots and be able to communicate enough to hey, this is what we're going to try to do and this is how we're going to go for it. And it's a huge testament to coach and really our entire coaching staff. And some of the things that we thought we were going to do earlier in the week weren't able to do. And so we just kind of adjusted on the fly and were able to put drives together and make some plays. Thanks.